Good evening, Canada. From our platform of Voice of Canada, we are back this week with a brand new episode. Your host, Asphandiar Wadiwalla, my co-host, Richa, sareen, and we have got a very, very dynamic and intelligent speaker, Arif Gilany, who is from the Kurdish community. Welcome to our show. Introduce yourself with your first and the last name.
Yes, thank you, sir. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm Arif Gilany, and honored to be here.
Welcome to our show.
Thank you.
Come on, Richa.
Mr. Gillany, welcome to our show. I'm your female co-host, Richa Sareen. In your bio, you have written that it's a journey of resilience and purpose. Could you please share with our viewers what that implies?
Well, let me start with the title. I had a short bio and I fed it to AI.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you heard about artificial intelligence. It came up with the title, Resilience.
Resilience,
that seems to be the theme of my life since childhood to now. I've been going through a lot of challenges and overcoming them.
Very good. Very good.
Thank you, sir. Okay. So that's a little bit of a update on how the title started and what resilience is, and we're going to talk about the details.
Yeah. Mr. Arif, we also see from your bio that you have authored a book, The Ministry of Miracles. So can you explain what was the purpose of writing this book?
So COVID-19 hit, as you remember, and it was almost like the world needed a miracle to happen,
definitely,
to get out of this. And I had read a book about personal development by Napoleon Hill called Think and Grow Rich about 6-7 times. And I said, how can I apply this knowledge, update it, upgrade it to the current day? And I started to formulate these formulas about how to take care of your health, first of all, mental health, physical health, and all of this. And the theme
plus face the challenges of a pandemic.
Absolutely. To create miracles, if you will, in your own life, whether it's a health miracle you need, whether it's a financial miracle, whatever it might be. I believe that the higher power, God's given us the ability to perform miracles in our own lives. So,
go ahead, Richa.
So you have migrated to Canada in 1993 as a refugee from Iran, from the war countries of Iran and Iraq, and till now you have visited 4 foreign countries as well. Would you like to share some experience about that with our
Yes, thank you. I actually began my journey in the war in Iran, Iraq. As I remember, 1980s, there was a big war going on. And the journey was to find some peace. In the war, it's hard to find peace. So after graduating from high school, I talked to my father and I said, I want to go abroad to study and catch up with my studies. And he says, yes, you can. And seems like opportunities are limited in Iran as we know it. So I took this journey on that took me a year in Turkey, a year in Germany, 3 years in Sweden before I eventually arrived in Canada.
Mr. Gillany, at the age of 13, you are back home, and your elder brother introduced you to a person known as Mr. Harriet Beecher. Who was he?
Harriet Beecher is an American author. She's a female in 1800s. She is the first American female to get the Presidential Award. Wrote a novel about a slave that ran away from South Georgia to come through the borders to Canada, right here on the border of Ontario, and then eventually become a judge in Canada.
Wow.
And I'm in the middle of war and all these things are going on. I said, wow, what a country. Imagine a place where you can be anyone you want, as long as you have the determination, the perseverance, resilience to go through all the challenges. So that was the book that gave me my brother for my 13th birthday. And I read it. I was deeply impacted by this flag, by Canada.
Definitely. That's a proud flag.
I wanted to make this home. It took me a long time.
Finally taken a decision.
Years, but I made it.
And you made the right decision to be in Canada.
Thank you.
Mr. Gillany, you're a graduate from a Denver University. What degree did you obtain from there?
I graduated in 2001 in Business Information Technology, which is now taken over the world as we talked about AI and all of that. But I remember giving the first presentation on GPS systems, where there's a point on the map that will show you how to get there.
Right.
And that was the beginning of explosion of internet and technology and all of that. So I did study business information.
And where is this Derby University located?
DeVry University is an American, very well-known university in Canada. They had a expansion.
Okay.
The 2 branches, and eventually they backtracked because of, I don't know, political situation or their...
So they are back to in US only?
Yes.
No more branches in campus in Canada?
No, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Gillany, you are an author of 2 books. Would you please share with our viewers the name of your books and what are they about?
Yes, I actually have 2 adult books, if you will, and 1 children's book. The first book was The Mountains Are Calling in 2018. Kurds, as Mr. Asphandiar knows, they say have no friends but mountains.
Mountains.
When there's trouble, they run.
They are on mountains, yeah.
So I felt like the mountains are calling me to go and take a message back. You know, all throughout history, all the prophet from Moses, they went to the caves and got this message on top of the mountains. So did Muhammad sallallahu and all of the other. So I said this is a good title because Kurds are always the mountain people, and we take refuge. So I took refuge in writing about a recovery that I did from a brain injury that happened in Toronto. So that was the first one. The second one that just recently after COVID-19 was the Ministry of Miracles, creating a platform, a formula for people who are like me, who are lost, come to Canada, don't know where to find resources, how to go about.
The settlement services.
Absolutely. So all of the knowledge that I'd gathered in this journey, I put it in there as a formula for people to come
and you started helping them, the newcomers.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
And you have recently opened an organization as well, right? A company called Camel Care.
Yeah, that was my next question.
Yeah, sure. Camel Company, briefly just tell you about it. It's a health and wellness products that we have basically since 2013, actually, I started it right after the brain injury. And the Camel Company has products that are incredible for therapeutic purposes, for pain in joints, back, feet, wherever it might be.
Okay.
So.
You are also connected to our Toronto District School Board.
Yes.
So what role did you play for our school board of Toronto?
So Toronto School Board has what's called a community partnership program. Entrepreneurs, people who have a program, a coaching, a mentorship program can apply to be a part of the Toronto District School Board to teach children about the principles of entrepreneurship, business, and things like this. So we use this camel story to go and teach children about perseverance.
The schools of Toronto District.
Absolutely, yeah. So in September, we're going around Ontario in all schools and in our sessions, just educating
other school boards as well,
absolutely,
like districts,
Peel
District,
yes,
and all. Go ahead.
You are a father of 2 kids. Would you like to share a little bit about your journey of being a father?
Yes.
And were they born here, or they were born back home, or they were born here in Canada?
The story is a little bit deeper, but yeah, I do have 2 children. And my children born here, I'm very proud of them.
Very
my daughter's
good. They are
21.
proud Canadian citizens.
Yes, third-year university student for psychology in Western, and my son is 11 years old. And
Mashallah.
This has been the reason I chose to raise a family in Canada, because the human rights and all of the things that...
And education and everything.
Absolutely,
the sky
education.
is the limit for your children here in Canada.
Yes, sir. All children, hopefully.
Go ahead.
And you play a major role as a consultant as well, connecting from the cultural point of view between the North American and Middle Eastern countries. Would you share like how
you have formed a bridge between Canada and Middle East?
First of all is through consultation for education. I'm by profession education consultant. People looking for a new career or want to change their career. And then there was ties over there to send students over here to go through Canadian education, as you mentioned, is valuable around the world. So we started bringing some students over here to educate themselves, to know the Canadian government, how it runs, to know the municipalities, to taking them to government organizations. After the training, sending back home to apply this knowledge in their own home countries.
Mr. Gillany, what are your current endeavors, currently what you're doing, and what are your future plans?
Very great question. Just came back from Detroit in US, and I have researched health and wellness for most of my life. Back in the days in Tehran, I was accepted to university. Out of 2 million people, I was 150,000 to be a doctor. And because of my ethnicity, they didn't let me. You're Kurdish.
I know.
Your father was a Kurdish.
Discrimination was
Absolutely.
there.
So I came here, also brought that enthusiasm for health and wellness. There's a concept called the Blue Zone. And Blue Zone is few stops around the world, starting in Japan. Some of them are in Greece, some in US. These are areas in the world that people live to age of 100 in a very enthusiastic and comfortable way. And they have communities built around this theme of healthy living. So we're starting, I'm actually the official Blue Zone ambassador in Canada.
Lovely. Congrats.
So
Congratulations.
Yes, throughout the communities, in my own Kurdish community, then community in North York, and continuation of your question of the plans on August 3rd, we're also launching InnoCan, which is a part of that bridge in the
Canada and Middle East.
That's right. Innovators and entrepreneurs of Middle East have come together, and they have done shows in China, in Middle East, and they wanted to do it here. So they contact me, says, can you host this program for us? So that's happening on August 3rd.
Lovely.
Thank you, sir.
Go ahead.
Mr. Gillany, during the pandemic, there were 2 years when everything was shut down. We went through so much of up and down in everyone's life, right? Could you please share how were you able to help the community around you? What were the steps you took in terms of being there for them?
Again, the pandemic taught us a big lesson, which was to use social media. So with my family, which is mostly in Europe and Middle East, I was able to connect with them on the phone.
And various
And when my camel business, we had a location on Yonge Street shut down because of COVID, I called the gentleman who's a teacher, Robert Amoudi in US, and I said, Robert, my business is shutting down. All of this money I poured into this now is going to waste. He says, you're a creative person. Do something unusual. Where can you go to free operate? I said, well, Middle East is less restriction. So I took a trip back to Middle East. And there
during COVID?
Yes.
Wow.
And to Mongolia, and started a little factory to manufacture our products there.
Wow.
And I came back, and I didn't take any COVID-19 shots. And I waited till the ban was lifted, then I came back to Canada. So really protecting ourselves, protecting our families, just staying in communication was one way to cope with COVID-19.
Right. So my question continues, Mr. Gillany, that the COVID ended around end of 22, the government declared, and we started, and even the world started opening in 2023. And people were very hopeful that the things will go back to normal, but it never happened. We are facing still the hurdles, the issues, the problems, even in 2024. Due to what the pandemic left for us. So would you like to throw some light on it, like the interest rates, the gas prices, the grocery prices, the housing crisis, shortage of products, shortage of workers? There are innumerable problems.
Yes, sir. Actually, it was a big shock to the world system, not only financially, but health-wise. Right now, mental health, residues of COVID-19 are showing up. Just last month, I had a 27-year-old young man kill himself.
Oh my God, it's terrible.
Depressed, anxious, depression, anxiety, all of these are things that are left after COVID.
The crime has increased because people don't have money to eat, to buy
Absolutely.
food.
So my own views on how Canada's run is a little bit different than anybody else, but I think this is one of the greatest countries, as you know, very wealthy country, and we should have had better measures in place to help recovery. And the government claims that they're doing their best, but I think we can see other countries compare the best of other countries, and country like Canada, G7 should have been better.
G7, G20, both.
Yes,
we belong to.
So COVID-19 was not only financially hard for people, emotionally it was hard for people. Many people lost their jobs, and One
lost the near and dear ones, major loss of human life.
Absolutely. Hundreds of thousands of people lost their lives. Some of them were my family members, and some just called at the last minute, said, listen, if I died, I just want to say I love you and you've been helping and this and that. So it was a very dark moment, but just because of applying these principles I put in the Ministry of Miracles, I try to shed some light on the darkness and be a candle, if you will.
We'll be taking a short break and we'll be with you shortly. Welcome back after a short break in our weekly talk show, Voice of Canada. Your host, Asphandiar Wadiwalla, and my charming guest, Richa, sareen. And our honored guest is Arif Gilany.
Thanks.
Welcome back after the short break. Go ahead.
Mr. Gillany, so enough of our serious talks. Let's talk about your hobbies now.
Little fun talk.
Yes.
And a lighter version.
So in the pandemic time, did you end up gaining some hobbies which you were never getting the chance to pursue, and now you finally got the time to pursue? Please share with viewers what you do.
Well, the only hobbies that you really could pick up in COVID-19 was probably walk alone or run alone. I started picking up running. I researched running. Even today, I run 3 kilometers in the morning.
Wow.
It's been a habit that I've continued now for at least 5 years. Every single morning, part of a routine is to set your mind right. And endorphins.
And that is very, very essential now for any age, walking and exercise.
Absolutely. So part of that blue zone is really to develop hobbies with friends or with colleagues that you do repetitively every day together.
Correct.
So these communities in Japan, for example, these seniors get together, play games, and do all kinds of fun stuff just to get themselves going. And that's helping their longevity. So the hobby that I picked up was running out of that.
Mr. Gilany, you are a member of the marginalized Kurdish community here in Canada.
Yes, sir.
So are you satisfied with the policies of our federal and provincial governments? Throw some light on it. There is no problem. We are a very free country, and our TV is also very, very neutral TV.
I appreciate the opportunity as a self-appointed voice of my people. I am a member of the board of directors at the Greater Toronto Kurdish House, which Ms. Ghadda Hamadani is also a friend of and also recommended. Our community has not only been suppressed, we're in our original home country, but here we don't really have any organized power to show, because Kurds come from 4 different countries. And when they settle in a new country, that division still continues. I come from Iran. I'm impacted by the culture that is present in Iran. Those who come from Iraq have taken some of the habits
of Iraq,
and Turks the same, and the Syrians.
And it goes on.
So the Kurdish House is committed, non-partisan. We're not associated with any political party. We just run community events, celebration, New Year, Nowruz.
Nowruz, we also celebrate.
Celebration. So we do all of that just to bring the community together, and we also are connected with the government of Canada and the parliament and provincial parliament
and federal government also.
There are conscious members who will help us, who also support us, who are trying to get the message out to the bigger government, hopefully.
Okay.
Mr. Gillany, one question which I have after going through your bio, that you have done so much hard work and have struggled a lot in terms of coming as a refugee to Canada, right? What are the 2 things you would share with our viewers were the guiding tools for you to be able to never give up and just keep going on and on about after life what you want?
Great question. Again, I wanted to tell you there's 2 things that if I can bring it out. Number 1 is finding a mentor, finding somebody that you can look up to. We grew up in societies where people got together in, old-fashioned and shared knowledge with the younger people. So 1, finding your purpose, why we're here. And number 2, education is the key to everything. The first thing that my father told me, wherever you go, son,
education is the basic key.
Make sure that you complete your education, because that will give you a voice, that will give you a tool.
And that is your survival.
Survival tool, if you will. Absolutely. So those 2 things, mentorship, education, go hand in hand. And that's what I recommend to anybody. Find somebody one more thing I wanted to add, and this is something that I learned from a Jewish gentleman, Mr. Katz, and I called his office. I said, I want to meet with you, and he says, okay. We went to a downtown place, and he says, this tower you see here, I built it.
Mm-hmm.
And he says that my philosophy is poor people, if it was, should take rich people to dinner and pay for it. And so I did.
But these are very old stuff. Who does with this hectic life? And
so I took my note pen and paper and went.
That was being said long time ago, but in the last century. In this century, these things are not possible. Even my forefathers used to say the same things. What you are saying, I believe in you. But now the life has changed to a different level.
People are too busy.
People are too busy.
The rich people.
And even the resources have lessened, for the people. And after the pandemic, people are still worse.
Absolutely. So finding some hope in people around us, looking at each other and asking,
helping each other, whatever way, and giving honest opinions.
Absolutely. So he gave me an honest opinion. He says, this is the philosophy. You need to learn from rich people. If you want to be rich, learn that from rich. If you want to be an athlete, learn from athletes. Whatever you want to be, go find mentors in that
arena. Okay. Mr. Gillany, as you know, Canada has no religion, no state religion. We are a secular country, and we have got about 183 nationalities from around the world, nook and corner of the world. So are you happy with our equality clause, or you are not satisfied?
Again, Canada is a great country where you can apply your own talents, your own gifts. But as far as religion goes, we
are a highly multicultural country, the biggest multicultural country in the world.
Yes, sir. And the mosaic allows people to practice their own religion within their own region.
Nobody stops you, whatever way you want to practice your religion or your culture. You are free to do that.
Absolutely. So my idea is that the relations you have with the higher powers between you and your God.
And your God, definitely.
And you can practice it freely in Canada.
But our country doesn't interfere in and this is such an open country. You are the lucky man to be here in Canada.
Absolutely. So the same way that other discriminations happen overseas, particularly in Middle East, religious discrimination is one of the biggest hurdles that stops the society.
And the firqas are fighting between themselves, the people from same religion, Shia and Sunnis, the rift is. So that shouldn't be. ERC, we stay with 183 nationalities. It's a role model Canada has become for the world.
Absolutely.
And especially for the Muslim countries, to see how well we stay unitedly.
As Richa mentioned, this is a country that all of these cultures can perform in their own zone, and we're all friendly with each other. We don't have to, annihilate anybody for the practice of their culture. You go to Brampton, you feel like it's in northern India. It's a lot of Sikh people. You go to China, to Markham, you go to China, you go anywhere. So our government, as far as
but the government is trying its best to remain neutral, but there are certain elements. For example, just now the war of going between the Middle East, that is creating hatred between the Jews and the Palestinians.
Absolutely.
And that is being shown, and people are attacked. The place of worships are attacked, which is not good for Canada, a country like Canada. So we have to be really, really sensible, educated. Okay, we have to act sane. We can't hurt anybody's property, anybody's life, or take anybody's life. It's not going to solve the issue. And you are not going to stop the war by doing all this stuff.
Earlier, yourself mentioned about the older religions, like Zoroastrians, which I love also, and others. Religion is more of a personal, and when it comes to a country, there needs to be a rule of law across the boards that we all can practice. We all can be ourselves. So Canada's trying its best to provide that, but I'm sure there's other countries who have far exceeded this situation.
Extremism.
Opened up gates for people to practice their beliefs.
Because we give a liberty to each and everyone, express to speak, express to say. But that doesn't mean that you start hitting at other communities and spread hatred. Hatred should be avoided at all cost.
There's a saying in Middle East that people don't really practice it, but in a war, nobody wins. Even the winner loses its values, loses its instincts, loses all of the kindness that we bring together. So as a community, I recommend and I also hope that all Canadians, Jewish, Muslim, Christian, Sikh, Hindu,
whoever they are,
just treat people with
with
dignity
courtesy,
and
dignity, respect. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's why I remember the main slogan of the Ahmadiyya community: love for all, hatred for none. It's a very strong, powerful message people should understand.
Right.
Absolutely. Some of the things that I learned from Zoroastrians: good thoughts,
good words, and good deeds. These are the three principal pillars of our religion.
Absolutely. So even in Bible, in Quran, the first thing is Iqra, means read, means learn, means think in a certain way. So if we just do that, I think we'll all be living in harmony and peace, hopefully. Just good thoughts,
we are about to sign off because due to paucity of time, the red light is showing us the signal. So would you like to give any final remarks, comments, advice from the platform of Voice of Canada?
I appreciate the Voice of Canada for giving me this opportunity. Those of you who are in Canada who are looking for those two sources, opportunities with education and also mentorship. I have sourced out a lot of great minds in US, in Canada, overseas, and these are people who are philanthropic, sir. These are people who are willing to give their time as soon as they see a little bit of willingness and potential to do something better. So last thing is that mentorship is really everything. I just met Mr. Manoj Wadiwalla, I believe it is, in US. He's a philanthropist, came to America with $0. He's not right now, net worth is $4 billion.
Yes, they're worked out. In these countries in North America, these are the lands of promise. If you work hard, if you use your skills properly, it is rewarding.
Well, I do take a lot of trips to US. It's more so in America than in Canada, and I wanted to revive that spirit of entrepreneurship and philanthropic work and community work in Canada. So if anyone out there in your community is interested, they can contact us. We have YouTube channels, we have social media pages, and the Camel Company is a part of the Blue Zone. Companies that help people longevity to the age of 100.
Thank you for coming in our show. God willing, if you achieve more, we will be inviting you again, maybe by next year, back in our show. So with that note, we will be signing off. Your host, Asphandiar Wadiwalla, my charming co-host, Richa, Sareen, and our guests would like to say good night, goodbye, God bless Canada, God save the King.